First Things First is sponsored by Gillette, the best a man can get.
Welcome back to the show. Former NBA All-Star Carlos Boozer is here. So we've got two super tall people now, and then two very average, short, average, just other humans also sitting next to the tall people.
Yeah, well
Sorry
done.
about that.
Still standing by you being tall, Nick?
Still doing that? I mean, whatever 6'1" is what I am.
Okay.
You're above average. You're a tall guy.
Thank you, Booze.
Not taking
These guys got some running joke going.
He's a point guard, though, in the NBA.
Absolutely. I'd look down at Chris Paul.
He's no guard.
Wow, so disrespectful.
I love CP3, but it's accurate. It's accurate.
All right, Booze, let's talk unemployment rate. At this rate, Carmelo Anthony will be on the shelf for a good while. Hasn't played in a game since being shut down by the Rockets earlier this year. But now, according to reports, LeBron James says he'd be interested in Melo, perhaps joining him on the Lakers. Keep in mind, LA's been on a bit of a tear recently, a good roll, winning its last 4 games. What do you think, Carlos? Good idea or bad idea? Or is there an underlying reason why?
Yeah, I mean, I like it for Melo. I like it because, well, obviously, Carmelo and LeBron are very close. They're almost like brothers. So, you know, Melo's sitting out right now, being let go by the Rockets, who are struggling and tanking, but that's a whole other topic. For LeBron,
interesting one.
Yeah, for LeBron, he's one of those guys that gets the best out of his players. You know, Lance Stephenson's over there playing well. They got Beasley coming off a little bit here and there. If he's able to get Carmelo, especially with the rumors out there trying to package a deal around one of the players over there to get Anthony Davis to come over, if you have a Carmelo that can give you 13, 14, 15 points consistently, that helps a lot.
So, listen, Melo's one of my favorite guys. I'm a Syracuse guy like he is. I also think he has been I love basketball analytics, but I think the analytics wave has drastically underrated what he's accomplished and how hard his job was. Like, people say, oh, he's inefficient. As Iverson talks about this, it's hard to put up 30 shots a night. Like, you know this as well as anybody.
It's hard on 2K to put up 30 shots a night.
And he became a punchline when he shouldn't. He is one of the all-time scorers of his generation. So all respect to future first ballot Hall of Famer Carmelo Anthony. I don't think he has anything left. I think that Chris Paul was the draft class after Carmelo and LeBron, and we are seeing Chris Paul all of a sudden look like, I'm not trying to shade him twice in a segment, but like he seems to have fallen off a cliff. Dwayne Wade is at a different part of his career. Like, LeBron is distorting our view on what you're supposed to look like in year 16. I don't think LeBron, though, actually really wants Carmelo on the Lakers. I think he doesn't want Carmelo's career to end this way. And I think he was asked about it by Joe Varden. I don't know that, but Joe Varden's the one reporting it. He's covered LeBron for a long time in Cleveland, and I think what happened was he says, oh yeah, of course. Who wouldn't want Melo? He's trying to promote interest in his very close friend, because nobody wants their career to end this way. Suddenly, where you get traded by one team, waived by another team. Like, he would be on the buyout of a buyout. So I don't think he'd be worse for the Lakers than, for example, Lance Stephenson. But I also don't think in 2018 Carmelo Anthony has a lot of value as an NBA player.
No, I'm right there with you, and I guess for me, it's not a question of what Carmelo would bring to the Lakers from an offensive standpoint, because I think he would help to space the floor. But my only question, I guess I have to pose this to you, is how does he fit defensively? Because he doesn't have the foot speed to match up against a small forward, and he doesn't have the size to match up against a power forward. So I think from that standpoint, he would be a liability to the Lakers, and I just don't know, with the production that you're going to get from him on the offensive end, whether he's coming off the bench or whether he's a starter, whether that outweighs him being a liability on the defensive side of the court.
Yeah, he's never been a lockdown defender. I mean, Melo, like you said, is a traditional 24-point-per-game scorer, one of the best scorers of his generation. But as far as defensively...
But he's not that player anymore.
No, he's not that guy. You know, at this stage in his career, he come off, they're trying to make him into like a spot-up shooter in Houston. That's not really his game. Melo's more of a one-on-one guy, jab, take advantage, offensive rebound, get to the free throw line kind of guy. They had him just shooting jump shots. So I feel like if he did go to the Lakers, I feel like LeBron is a guy who's like a Tom Brady of our game, who can figure out a way to maximize Carmelo Anthony.
I think LeBron would maximize him, but I also think I know enough people that were around the Cavs last year or on that team that said when D. Wade came there, that actually was a bit of a problem. Not because D. Wade's a bad guy, but because all of a sudden there was the whole team in the locker room, and then it's LeBron with his arm around D. Wade. Like, because they have such a close relationship. I wonder if something similar could happen here. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, even if you could maximize Carmelo Anthony, we talk so much about the growth of the young players, about Brandon Ingram, about Kyle Kuzma. Do you think that could potentially stunt, if he's your guy off the bench, your scorer off the bench, when those minutes could be going to letting Brandon Ingram run the offense when LeBron goes to the bench? Like, could you be stunting the growth of guys who are more important for the Lakers 2 and 3 years down the line?
Yeah, that's a great point. For me, it doesn't make sense right now. They're rolling, like as she said, they're rolling right now. They're playing very good basketball. But if they make a move to get another player, like an Anthony Davis, and they package players around an Ingram, where you lose maybe a Caldwell Pope and maybe another perimeter player, then you bring in a Melo where you actually need a perimeter player, that makes more sense. But right now, it stunts their growth a little bit.
Well, here's the thing. I don't feel like 2018-2019 season was the year that Magic and Rob Pelinka thought that they were going to be competing for a championship. I think they were waiting to get to the summer of 2019, where they'll have some options with free agency. And then, of course, some of the trades for the big guys. You talk about Anthony Davis. He's one of the names that pops up. They'll be more realistic. I think that this is a situation where you take advantage of having a season. I'm not going to call it a throwaway, but this is just an opportunity to get extended minutes for those young players to see what they can develop into, but more importantly, to see how they would fit in the construction of your team moving forward, whether you want them as a piece once you're able to attract another big-time free agent.
But Melo had an issue just coming off the bench when he played in Houston. He would have a much, much reduced role here, and he would have to be okay with, whether it's in L.A. or anywhere else, I mean, if you're saying he's struggling on defense, he's not he's not playing the role of the spot-up shooter, he's going to have to be okay with limited minutes and a limited role on a team.
How hard is that? Because you're a guy who obviously at your peak was one of the 4 or 5 best big men in basketball, and an all-star level player. But you didn't just play 6 years. Later in your career, that was not your role anymore. How hard is that mentally to adjust from when offenses used to run through you, when you used to be the feature, the second feature guy, to where you just have a tertiary role? How tough is that?
I mean, it can be. It depends on how your ego is. Like, my ego was, I wanted to win at the end of my career. So my whole thing was about whatever it took to win. And for me, with the Bulls team that we had an MVP in Derrick Rose. We had Defensive Player of the Year in Joakim Noah, All-Star Luol Deng. We had a squad full of guys that were very accomplished and were very good. So we all sacrificed a little bit for the greater good. But then we ran into LeBron, and we couldn't get to the finals. But that being said, it's all about your ego. If you put your ego to the side and want to just win, it's a little easier. But if you still want to be the man, you still have that bravado, you still want to take 20 shots, it's a problem.
I think it's really, I think it's really tough for guys that, and there's only been a few that have been able to do it, that were quite Carmelo Anthony's caliber. And there's no disrespect to you whatsoever. But guys, Carmelo for a brief period of time was absolutely in the discussion for second, third best player in the world. To go from that to the role you're talking about it is an adjustment. We've seen Dirk do it. Now, Vince Carter has done it as well as anyone I've ever seen. Ray Allen. We've seen some guys do it. Jason Kidd did it in a different type of way where he was still impactful but was a different player. But AI couldn't do it.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot. I'm not picking on AI. There's a long list of guys who, once they're not who they had always been, it is too hard to take that role. I think Melo for a long time didn't want to admit he wasn't who he's been. And now, even if he's ready, even if he thinks he's ready to admit it, I was at what might end up being the last great Carmelo Anthony game. It was in Brooklyn a few weeks ago before the Rockets move on from him. I think he hit 7 threes, he had 30 points, he was swaggering, he was playing great, and it was awesome to see. I'm glad I was able to see it. But you got the feeling that his feeling wasn't, oh, one more great moment. It was, see, this is who I can be. And unfortunately,
that's the problem.
And unfortunately, I just don't think, in fact, I know that's not who he can be consistently anymore.
All right, we're going to take a break. Carlos, stick around. Coming up, have Kyrie Irving and the Celtics put the rest of the East on notice? That's next on First Things First.
Put that ego to the side, Melo. Go ahead and join the big three. Come on home, man.
Thank you, Razor.